Good evening from yammybtv. Wishing you all well today. Sending loads of love as usual. Sorry, I wasn't in the mood to come up yesterday. Every time there's good news, there's a bit of sad news as well, and it could even get sadder. But I'll leave this for another day. And keep you all posted on things like I always do. Something's come up today that's opened up old wounds, and over the years I've met many cases where, you know, the crime of death by reckless driving is a custodial sentence, and I think there was a limit on what you could get for such an offence. I think in the early days it was 5 years or 2 years even, and now it's increased. I think, don't quote me on it, but I had a great friend from Deptford, household name, known by many, and used to be, was well respected, and hopefully still is to some degree, if you get what I mean, with about what I'm about to tell you. But I had a message earlier on from a young lady whose husband's suffering the same kind of thing. But say for his story, he, straight going man, never committed a crime before in his life, driving home one night and sadly hit someone in the dark while he's driving, and you know, someone's died at the hands of it. And all right, it's a crime with a dead person and a victim, and the persons of the victim are going to be very rightly so going to be really hurt, because if there's no driver that night, then the family member, whoever it may be, would still be alive today. Can it ever be forgiven? If a man's not induced with any drugs of any kind, but makes one mistake in his life, but you know, he goes back, serves his time, gets 4 years, does 2, comes out, and you know, gets punishment in prison as well while he's there, you know, because of the personnel involved in the death, and then suffers, and his family suffers for the rest of their days, and obviously it affects him getting work, and she has to go through regular attacks by other neighbours and whatnot. But you know, are they crimes that should be forgiven? Even, or even say, we'll talk about my great friend from Deptford, and all right, on that night he might have not been in the greatest frame of mind, and the last time I saw him, he was a big, strong figure. We was in Belmarsh and Swellside together during the millennium, and you know, very big character, and you couldn't see not one weakness in him whatsoever. And I met him by accident, and he looks at me, and I said, "Yammy," and I said, "Yeah, Lou, you all right, boy?" And he invited me around his house, and I went round there. But I was looking at him and I was thinking, because I've been away so long, it was during the time of where I was away in the Cat A's for quite a few years, so I hadn't seen him since that time, and I hadn't heard of anything, or I did hear something, but I don't know if I had the full facts or the information. All I know is he got a sentence for death by reckless driving, but obviously somebody young was involved, and he wasn't the same man. He's absolutely a broken man, shell of the man that he was, and you know, spends most of his days alone, and even his own friends turned on him. I found it difficult to believe, you know, that all right, it's a crime that could be avoided if you're in your right frame of mind driving, but even if you're not in your right frame of mind driving, by way of drugs or drink or whatever, the accident can still happen. And on both sides of two stories that I'm talking about today, I'm wondering if there should be more showing of forgiveness for such crimes. But you know, the hurtful thing for all concerned, that when you lose loved ones at the hands of somebody, no matter what way it happens, they're not always going to be so forgiving. Because without you, their family members would still be alive. But I was shocked at how he changed, and I think that a punishment of the change in him of being a broken man would be enough of a punishment, as well as the sentence that he received for the crime would be enough. You know, I'm not saying it just because it's on behalf of my friend. I'm saying it on behalf of a story I've heard today as well, where, you know, for a few years now, they're being attacked regularly over the same kind of thing, but one with criminal convictions and maybe drug induced, and one that's not. But then there are other crimes that where there's been more forgiveness, if you get what I mean. Like if he was asking me if I should be forgiven for my crimes and a lifetime of it, of harming people and ruining people's lives, I would have to say to you, no. I would have to be showing like I'm trying to do now, is make amends in later life before it's time to go. That I made, you know, an effort to put it all behind me by way of action. But some crimes leave men not in a position to come up and make amends and try, because they are broken, because the nightmares and the things that come with the crimes that they have committed leave them in no fit state to, you know, get over what they've done. Because, you know, the guilt of, I'm not saying, because it's not premeditated, is it? It's not something that's, you know, been pre-planned, or you've set out to deliberately knock someone over and kill them. But at the same time, we always got to look at it from the victim's point of view. And I do find it sad, though, that, you know, on both sides of the coin, on both cases I'm describing, you know, do they recover? The perpetrators, the victims, families will never recover, because they're the ones with the loss. But such crimes, you know, of this kind of nature, I think the punishment of having to live with it, with what you've done, should be enough. And that's without having met the other character, of course. Just going on what I've seen with the case details and whatnot, and, you know, the difference in my mates and the shadow of his former self, and all alone now, with no friends or nothing, where he was a household name again. You know, the people are going to use that, you know, against him. You know, yeah, but he knocked over and killed, sadly, you know, somebody small. And, you know, shows who your friends really are as well at such times, because they may be listening to you, and you might be the big man for them at the time, but the minute that your status goes down, they run for cover, and you don't hold the same power over them no more as well. Found that a bit strange as well, but I got on with all of that lot from Deptford, it must be said. And also, again today, related to tell me what you think about, you know, about the forgiveness side of this kind of thing. But I was thinking of two cases as well, that where you're in prison, and prison beef and fights lead to death outside if they meet again. And this is obviously, I've got part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. These are things that I've been hearing and seeing with my own eyes for years. Like I was thinking of a case earlier where I was in Aylesbury with a man, and he had a fight with another man from his own area, and got stabbed with a sauce bottle, a hot pepper sauce bottle. Remember them days, you could have the glass, you have the peanut butter, nothing was plastic or anything. And he cut his throat. I think the scar was deep. But the guy that got stabbed was in for something naughty anyway, but he was doing a detained, he was about 16 at the time, and he was a strange character, but very, very physically strong kind of thing. And when that happened to him, he used to talk about it every day, that don't worry, I'll catch up with him. When I see him, I will do the job, I will find him, and it's not going to be hard for me. And again, people that think of things while you're in prison, and when you get out, you know, like I bumped into a prison officer the other day. I bumped into an enemy the other day. One second. You can bump into anyone, anywhere, I'm telling you. So, just by chance, the guy Miles that got his throat, got the big scar from the sauce bottle, is walking down High Street and sees him, the perpetrator from Aylesbury, follows him home, finds out where he lives, leaves it for the night, goes away, creeps up, late at night, goes through a window with a pole, a scaffolding pole of some kind, and goes into the bedroom and smashes him to smithereens and gets him back. Only for me to find out that I end up in jail with him 7, 8, 10 years later. Yeah, you're right. I remember you from Aylesbury. Yeah, it's cool kind of thing. Never really talked to him. Strange character, like I said. I said, what you doing? He said, oh, I'm doing a sentence for blah, 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 blah. Remember the fight in Aylesbury? I looked at him, I said, yeah. He goes, I remember, I told you when I get out, if I ever saw him. And he described the details to me about how it was done and how how I just described to you. And I thought he was having a laugh until I saw the newspaper clipping. And it was exactly as he said it. And the only thing was, he left his prints behind on the pole. So the same beef from that prison thing, he still ended up back in jail again to suffer the same feelings that he suffered from the horrific crimes he committed before. But revenge, the old adage, leaving things behind, taking it when it's your turn, you know, all these things spring to mind. And like I said, a lot of prison stuff ends up with, you know, them coming together on the outside. And like we know, you meet people in the most unlikely places and things that have happened to you when you're a victim of some kind. Like we found with PM the other day, with she bumped into one of those offenders from way back in the day, and look what she did. You see what I mean? It's never to be forgotten. So the rage is still there, lingering. That feeling of not getting your own way during a battle, but it's always all right when you're winning and you're the one doing the scarring. But when it comes to your turn, you want to make sure somebody else also gets paid for that too. And the other one that I was thinking about, it was a real sad case as well. Told you about a guy having a fight with a Welsh Valleys guy the other day in Parkhurst, and Fleego, I'll call him, from South London. And I had a mate, and them two used to get into fights in prison regular. Tyrone Johnson, rest in peace, bless him, loved him, right? They never got on, never ever saw eye to eye, but were in for similar crimes. This is what I said, like the living off immoral earnings. I'm not really up to date on it all now because I'm away from the crime of pimping. And I remember a first case of years and years ago in the 80s where a man got 4 years for living off immoral earnings, which is basically being a pimp. I don't hear of such things now. I know that obviously it must go on to a worse degree now, but I haven't had the misfortune of seeing it with my own eyes like I did when I was younger. Because again, I see pimping really as bad as a sexual offender, really, because you're taking advantage of vulnerability of getting somebody else to help you make money, rather than, you know, not saying the way that I did it was right, but you're taking it on your own to take your own consequences when you go and do your stuff. And, you know, you take what comes with it when you're living off immoral earnings and getting vulnerable drug addict women or whatever to go and make money for you so that you can smoke or you can do whatever you want. And, you know, they're going to be scarred forever and ever by their actions too, by living in such a way as we see with what I've seen with my own eyes from my generation of ladies from way back in the day that sadly suffered at the hands of such men from the creation of dawn, and you know their heads are not the same, and you know it ruins lives forever and ever. But anyway, they had their couple of fights in jail, and I come out, and they're both at it again. King's Cross, vulnerable women, pimping, but you bumped into each other, and you bumped into each other because you're committing your crimes in the same area, doing the same things that you finished just doing your years for before, or one of you did. I don't think Tyron had a pimping before. For that might be for something different. I can't remember, to be honest. But you're arguing over one of the girls, you see, and he's saying, no, she's with me. You're saying that, no, she's with me. And you're saying, well, no, what are you saying? And you're saying, well, I'm saying that she's with me, and blah, blah. Well, what are you going to do about it? So Tyron draws first, busts his head with something, puts him in hospital, scarred up, whatever. So the story goes. He goes hospital, stitched up, blah, 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 blah. He takes her away, and, you know, he's, for now, so the story goes, he's got her with him. He's the better man. You stay with me. You belong to me, whatever way you want to look at it. I'm not going to speak up on behalf of such things. But no, he comes straight back out of hospital, goes straight back down to to King's Cross, where it was always happening in them days, and sees him and doesn't give him a chance, and you get a one stab wound. Tyrone, rest in peace, and you died. They've got a plaque down there, a family put a plaque with his name on it, where he died, on the spot where he died, all over the crimes that you're committing. Because what we find during the commitment of crime is the same with burglaries, same with robberies, same with anything you do. It's not just the crime you're committing, it's while you're committing the crime that you're committing that it can lead to another separate crime happening. Disturbed in a burglary, weren't expecting it, didn't expect it, hurt the householder, someone else dies, someone else gets hurt. Another crime, from another crime, your crime on these ones, from a crime, from another crime. So you're walking into a trap of never knowing what way and the unexpected events that can go on during these things. And the other thing I was thinking about today, I don't want to drag this on too long, but I feel in the mood to talk to you today as well. I'm thinking about life. I was thinking about where Nick, you might remember it. There was a geezer called Tony H. He sadly murdered his wife, right? Played the game in jail, and you should the authorities showing remorse, emotional thing, caught with another man, reacted wrongly, you know, you played the system. They were responsible for letting you back out, right? Slurp up. So you release him, only it happens again. And then I see him on that rerun. And I remember he used to serve up a little bit again. I think he's alive now. Tony H. I remember you met Nick. And everyone used to say, yeah, but he's a woman killer. So, yeah, but he's old, and, you know, he's domestic, and, you know, it could happen to any of us. But I said, yeah, but he's a serial one. Yes, he's happened before. And I'm a believer that those emotions, you can't fool. You can try and fool, but all these courses when you go to jail to let killers out, to prove that your risk has been lowered and that you're no longer a risk and you'll be monitored or whatever. But, you know, how can anything ever be safe when you've done it before because of the emotion you felt, or it's just the thing you do? Who really knows? Only you was there when it happened. But you release him again and it happens again, and same old thing. And then there's a cracking joke in there. He said, cracking dark warp jokes there. Of course, wouldn't want to be his wife. You know what? You know things like that. And then they're talking of killers, lifers. Trying to remember now how many, not the ones that have served a life sentence and gone back and now got whole life tariffs. Talking about how is it possible that you could serve one life sentence for robbery, armed robbery, you shoot a man during an armed robbery, or unfortunately someone dies. Johnny H was one of those. And you come out from that, but then you go on another pit and it happens again. But you get older and older and older. And when you're in your 80s or 85, 86 or whatever, but still fit enough man or whatever. You know, I was wondering today how many could it be possible who could complete 2 life sentences for murder in one lifetime. I might come back up and have a chat with you more, but just having some debate for once this evening. Sending lots of love as usual.